And that's where they picked up the inspiration to create what you view today. Now, by the mid-1990s, they sold those business interests, which provided them with all of the funds they would require to bring their ideas together. And the Hunter Valley Gardens were born shortly thereafter. We do currently hold the title of Australia's largest privately owned display garden. Now, currently we are making our way around the rose garden, but of course it is the season for pruning, so there's not much happening here at the moment. We've still got a few blossoms hanging onto the outer rose bushes there. We're lucky enough to get a full 9 months out of our flowering period here for roses. But our team will spend the next 3 to 4 weeks, well, they've already been working on it probably 2 weeks now, pruning up all these roses. There's 6,000 roses just in this one garden here, 56 different varieties. Now, once the pruning's finished, they will fertilise, and they've started doing that in a couple of spots already. And then they'll put down quite a bit of loosened mulch over the beds. You know, the loosened mulch, of course, assists with moisture retention. We are in drought, and of course, coming into those warmer months, that will be something very important. And as the loosened mulch breaks down, it also provides lots of good nutrients into the soil, like nitrogen, which is something that roses will thrive on. So if you are looking after your roses at home, loosened mulch is the stuff that you want to use throughout spring and summer. Now, down in the centre of this garden, you'll notice the statues that we have there. The tallest one is Imelda Roche, and the little ones that run around the outside are her 13 grandchildren. So we do also refer to this as the grandmother's garden. Off to our right-hand side there, you will also hear the rushing water, which belongs to the centrepiece of our sunken garden, the waterfall. Man-made, took around about 6 weeks to construct. And it provides a beautiful backdrop just for lazing on the lawn on a day like today, but at other times it also is one of the 5 locations we use across the property for wedding ceremonies. Not only do we use the sunken garden, but we also use the waterfall outlook, the formal garden, the rotunda at Lakes Walk, and the Hunter Valley Gardens Chapel. Now, we are in the formal garden at the moment, and as you can see, got some white Camellia japonica on either side of the tray here in flower. A traditional formal garden relies quite heavily on the use of symmetry throughout, so you'll often see straight lines with garden beds mirrored to either side of paths, beautifully manicured box hedges, and topiary as well. In the warmer months, you will also see quite a bit of colour here in our formal garden. We have 3,000 camellia roses scattered through each tier.
Down there or up there?
Down there. Beautiful shady canopy above us here, evergreen ash tree. As we pop out the other side, we are looking at the main entryway to our Indian mosaic garden. Standing guard on either side of the entryway are our statue of elephants. The one on the left-hand side is a symbol of strength. The elephant to the right-hand side with its trunk in that slightly upright position, a symbol of good luck in the Indian culture. Now, the timber gates at the main entryway there are an antique that was imported into the grounds by Mr. and Mrs. Warish. In fact, those gates were originally handmade in India by an elephant trader around about 190 years ago. So that puts them at almost the same age as my father-in-law. Now, coming up at the bottom of the hill here, another antique imported into the grounds. The timber panels belonging to our Indian tea house here. Recently had a bit of TLC, so it's looking quite youthful. But the timber panels on that building are 170 years of age. And the entire structure overlooks this big lake here, which holds water as part of our irrigation supply, as well as being part of our aqua golf facility out on the other side there. Topiary elephant on our right. And in the centre of the garden here, also on the right, is the Garci Tower, surrounded by all these colourful annuals. You will see quite a few annuals throughout the property during autumn and winter. In fact, we use around about 350,000 annuals throughout that period, and then around about 150,000 in spring and summer. quite a bumpy trip to the top of the hill, but now we're going to slow things down to almost a snail's pace. As we take the opportunity to view our next garden from the train, there is a limited chance for us to view this one. So that's why I wanted to do it nice and slowly. Coming up on our left is the Chinese Moongate Garden. Now within the Chinese culture, the colour red represents good fortune, so we have our beautiful red azalea in flower at this time of year just on our left. And the entryway to the garden itself is also coloured red. And you'll notice the entryway is round, representing a moon on the horizon, hence the name of the Moongate Garden. And this gate or entryway also acts as somewhat of a frame. As we look into the garden itself, straight in towards the back, you'll see a large dark coloured rock which represents an island. In front of that we have topiary, and in this style of garden we call those cloud trees. The white stones winding through the centre represents a river. Shrubs to the right of that is a forest, and the grass on the left are hills and valleys. And when our Moongate Garden was being constructed, they also used traditional techniques such as feng shui. And that was shown to us in the placement of the entryway itself, which is facing directly to the east. And that was done so that at least 3 times throughout the year, a full moon on the rise will shine straight through the moon gate. Ten internationally themed gardens in total, combining to form an area of 60 acres and 8 kilometres of walking path winding its way throughout. To care for it all, we have quite a dedicated team which consists of 1 gardener per display garden. We also have our horticultural manager, supervisor, trainee, lawn mowing and irrigation crews. So on a full-time permanent basis, the horticulture department fixes 25 employees. Temperature drop as we make our way into the shade of our waterfall outlook. This is the garden off to your right hand side, and as you can feel, it is the most shaded garden on the property. Unlike a lot of other areas in and around the gardens here, most of the trees inside this one are evergreen, and the majority of them are of a particular variety called the Hills fig, which is an Australian native ficus. You'll be able to identify them quite quickly because they're these beautiful white trunks. This is also our most popular location on the property for wedding ceremonies. In fact, there was one here just last Saturday. It's particularly popular during spring when we see the wisteria growing over the top of the walkway here, providing purple and white flowers leading down through the reinforcing. Ceremonies take place on the hardwood deck out at the far end of the path there. And we can also get a horse and carriage in through the paths if we need to. That happens reasonably regularly. Other times of the year though, especially in the warmer months, it's the best place on the property to be in the middle of the day. Lots of shade in there, and the garden has its own little microclimate going on, so it can be quite a few degrees cooler there than it will be elsewhere on the property. Now, weddings aren't the only events that we do here at HVG. We also do some really fun family-focused events, such as Snow Time in the Garden, which finished up just last week, in fact. And that's when we use this area off to our left-hand side here. Now, you can see we've got some amusements on site, like a giant slide, the swing chairs, Ferris wheel and carousel. All permanent parts of the property, but we only put them into operation during school holidays and event periods, so they were running during snow time. We also had the big marquee off to the left there, which we turned into an ice skating rink. Behind that, the long marquee was a 45-metre toboggan run. And we had our own snow-making machines as well, so we put out 3 or 4 pits of man-made snow. Kids were building snowmen. We had magicians and clowns working the crowd, face painters, jumping castles, all sorts of things happening. It was a really fun event for us. We saw lots of people come through for it. And that is the beginning of a very busy back end of the year for us. Starting on 1st of September, we also do our Carnival of Colour, which is a brand new event for us this year. It combines our Spring Festival and the annual Rose Spectacular with specialised walks and talks, displays, and even a stage show for our littlest people during the school holidays. And immediately following that, we of course kick into our annual Christmas Lights Spectacular, which starts on November 8th and runs right through until January 26th. Very much looking forward to putting that one on for you. In fact, we have to spend so long getting prepared for the Christmas Lights Spectacular that lights will start going up in a fortnight. 2 million lights on display during that event. Put it on your to-do list if you haven't done it yet, or even if you have, it's even bigger this year. And all the information you need is available via our website, huntervalleygardens.com.au. Very peaceful little trip through our storybook garden this afternoon. Looking through the trees off to the left, you see our big red chair, which you are very welcome to sit upon. Grab a photo with your camera. The storybook garden is the last of our gardens to be finished during the construction, so quite appropriately it's our youngest garden. And the concept for it was given to us directly from Mr. and Mrs. Roche for a couple of reasons. Predominantly they wanted to provide an area that would encourage families to come together, and they definitely achieved that, not only with the storybook garden but with the entire property as a whole. And you may notice that in front of some of our characters they have little books portraying who it is that we're actually looking at, and of course on the right here we're looking at Humpty Dumpty. And there's often stepping stones right in front of the little books, and that's because Imelda Roche wanted to encourage children to read. So you're quite welcome to stand in front of those books and recite the nursery rhymes that we learnt time and time again as children. Upon exiting the storybook garden, off to our right, our topiary giraffe reading a copy of Jack and the Beanstalk. Now a very patient topiary gardener here looking after his patch. Some spinach. Sage and parsley there as well. Through the entryway here, straight out through the other side, you can see the orange flowers which belong to the orange trumpet vine growing over the top of our little gazebo there. And the particular garden that you are looking through is called the Border Garden, and its design style is that of a French parterre. Now you'll notice the garden's dominated by hedges and topiary. In fact, this garden has 700 metres of hedges associated in and around it. Inside, dominated by Japanese box. Around the outside with the yellow leaves is a golden duranta. The lush big hedge going over and above everything is the Hills fig, which has had a special technique used on it known as pleaching. Now when a hedge has been pleached, basically what that means is they've taken the branches of one tree and intertwined it with the branches of the next, and that one with the next, and so on and so forth, which, as you can see, builds strength in that hedge and removes the possibility for bare or weak points. You may also notice that in each corner of this garden we have some lovely lady statues. And each one of those is holding a different crop to symbolise the 4 seasons throughout the year. We have 460 topiary in total across our property, and the 4 most important ones just off to our left-hand side here. As you can see, they've been shaped to look like horses using a very fast-growing vine known as Mullenbeckia. And these 4 horses are actually quite important to us at HVG. We've named them after the mountain range that runs behind us in the valley. The Brokenback Range, which is home to the Becolman State Forest. And having 4 of them signifies the number of years it took to construct everything here on this property. So the first sod of soil was turned here in 1999 to take what was previously an old farm called Talawanta, with its gentle rolling hills and remnants of a vineyard, and recreate that to give us what we now see as the Hunter Valley Gardens, with its lakes, ponds, streams, contours and undulations. And once that 2 years of earth moving was finished, they introduced 300,000 cubic metres of quality topsoil, and then, and only then, could they begin the planting process. In went the 460 topiary, also 6,000 trees, 35,000 roses, 600,000 shrubs, and 1 million ground covers. In lawn grass alone, we have the equivalent of 32 football fields of Sir Walter Softleaf buffalo. You won't see a lot of the softleaf buffalo here in the Oriental Garden, because what you will see instead is the largest display of Korean velvet grass in the country. That's this lovely grass that you're seeing here on the side of the tree, that lumpy, very fine blade. It's a variety of zoysia. And it was actually introduced into this style of garden as a replacement for moss, which is what they would normally use in this style. But of course, our climate isn't friendly enough to use moss with our frosty winter mornings. In fact, just the other day we had a -4, quite a good frost. And at the other end of the scale, we get very hot summers. Have a look at this little blue wren showing off his colours. That brilliant bright blue, that'll get a little bit brighter. That means that he's ready to make himself a family. We'll see a lot of those hanging around coming into spring.
They flew off just as you took your picture. So there's one there from.
Quite spring-like this afternoon. In fact, I think it's coming early. You'll notice here on the left, one little pink blossom on this tree beside us here. In the coming weeks, all of these trees along here will be covered with that blossom, as well as the big ones at the end of the pathway we're going to meet on the bend here. Those trees are prunus. Members of that family include the cherry, the plum and the peach. Those ones we're looking at are flowering peach. Some of the other varieties that we'll see flowering throughout August include the Manchurian pear. We've got a ton of those here. And the eastern redbud as well, or the forest pansy. It's a very, very pretty time of the year, a very exciting time of the year because it signifies that spring's on the way. And that's when we will see this particular garden explode back into life as well. This is called Lakes Walk, this garden. It's our biggest one on the property at 5 acres. And as you can see, it's a little bit light on as far as foliage goes right now. In fact, 80% of the trees down here are deciduous.
she said barbiturate.
The, some of the varieties down here, the deciduous varieties include the yellow bark willow on our immediate left,
Deciduous.
the acorn coming up on the right. We've also got the Manchurian pear, swamp cypress, claret ash, crepe myrtle, yellow honey locust, liquid amber, and the Japanese crabapple. So this particular garden, in my opinion anyway, is at its absolute stunning best. Late April all through May and the first week or so of June, and that deciduous colour is really showing off. Still a beautiful garden through the warmer months. Lots of shade, even though it's a very open style garden. And Lakes Walk is home in part to the Hunter Valley Gardens Chapel, which you're seeing up on the hillside there to the right. The chapel was actually constructed during 2001, originally built for one of Bill and Imelda Roche's daughters to get married there. I'm pleased to say that her and her husband are living happily ever after. Separate towns. Now, they're quite happy indeed, still married, 3 beautiful children. They were here a couple of weeks ago. The chapel itself, open daily, 9 a.m. until 4:30 p.m, non-denominational. And let me tell you, on a day like today, at around about 4:30, the view from the back window of the chapel looking out over the broken back range there behind the Ferris wheel. Absolutely gorgeous as the sun goes down. To get inside the chapel though, you will have to exit the gardens via our main entryway that you came through today, and then head out into the car park opposite the shopping village. That will get you direct entry to the chapel. Now this lake that we have here, as you can see, nice feature of this garden, a very big part of this garden. You may notice coming up on our left-hand side, just up in front of us here, a bit of a bubbling going on at the surface. What's happening there is they're actually refilling this lake at the moment. And that will bubble away until the water level gets up around that ring you can see around the rocks there. And then they'll flick that valve off. All of our irrigation supply will be sent out from this point. I'll continue to water the gardens on a fairly regular basis even through winter. And when the water level gets low, they'll flick that valve back on again and up the water level will come. And that process repeats on a regular basis right throughout the year. We have a lot of storage points available to us for water supply. This being the smallest one that we have. The big lake where the aqua golf facility is, that's ours.